lead to a pre-release version of Fedora. Gia has succeeded. Except there's a bug. In low-level code like the backdoor, things you normally take for granted, like memory management, are not done automatically. If a function grabs a bit of memory, it also has to give that memory back when it's done. And if it doesn't, then every time the function runs, it grabs more and more memory and then never releases it. Over time, the program just keeps growing. That's called a memory leak. And to catch problems like this, developers use a tool called Valgrind. It runs the program more slowly, but watches every memory operation for anything suspicious. Valgrind is raising hell on Gia's code.
We put XZ, this version 5.6.0, into Fedora 40. We get a bug report initially.
And the backdoor in XZ specifically is generating invalid writes errors. Well, the logic was written by hand, bypassing the compiler's safety checks, and so they accidentally wrote outside the memory stack. Now, looking for Gia, all this isn't immediately obvious. Rich still hasn't noticed what's happening.
New software has bugs, right? It's the state of nature of software. Software is absolutely full of bugs all the time.
Now, the real problem is inside the malicious code in the test file. But Gia can't just go and fix that. That would completely expose the backdoor. So he invents a cover story. He claims that the random data he used to generate the original test files, well, it's not reproducible, so he's replacing it. And in this updated code, he fixes the memory error.
It's a very convincing and plausible explanation for why this test block has to be updated. But of course, it's not the real reason.
All right, so now the real fix is in. But if the bug just magically went away, it would look a bit suspicious. So he has to find a way to cover it up.
So what he then does is he changes the iFunc code in a way where he adds like a whole bunch of comments and changes to the code around it. That doesn't actually change the code, but it's plausible enough to look like he changed how the iPhone works and thinks about it.
He does. Listening to it, I'm like, I know that this is the evil hacker, Gia, but I'm like, ooh, that's clever. You know?
Yeah, I mean, look, the guy is obviously not an idiot, right? But none of this is suspicious. This is what we expect from compression testing. And as a packager, it's not really my job to fix everything. As soon as it gets to a certain level of difficulty, my thought here is, well, Gia Tam has actually been writing this software. He's got it all in his head. He knows how it works. It's easier for me to just give him the problem. And I send the bug over to him, and like a day later, I send him the fix. From my point of view, it's problem solved. It works. System works. I made the right call. I don't see, at that point, knowing what I know there, I don't see
So we downloaded Gia Tan's version of XZ, which was available on Fedora publicly. But we made a slight modification. Instead of using Gia's secret code, we're using our own. And that means that we can take advantage of Gia's backdoor. In this case, we're targeting the Veritasium.com website. And once we get control of it, I got a little trick in store for Derek.
Now, to make sure I don't mess with any real traffic too bad and lose my job, we actually cloned the Veritasium website and put it on a very similar URL. But it will work the same. Of course, Derek doesn't know that I've covered my bases.
Oh no. Man, when you guys do these things, I start to get more and more scared now. I want it to work for the video, but I also don't want it to work because I don't want to screw stuff up. So,
Yep. It's the risk you take, I guess. When this run
it is a concern.
I'm gonna execute a script here, which is gonna it's opening up a port on the Veritasium server. And then on this side, I'm gonna execute a little script.
Henry Cassian. Who is this goof? On the main photo, you spent time getting all suited up there.
Of course.
Looking sharp, sir.
Thank you.
Videos Derek would never approve of. Uh-oh.
The concept was, over the years that we worked together, he said no to a bunch of my ideas. I figure now with control of the website, it's about time the world saw it.
Surviving 7 days living underwater. How do saturation divers live at minus 1,000 feet? I mean, you wouldn't be outside, right? So I don't know why you need goggles and like a respirator, but you're not underwater. Why it's almost impossible to shoot 4,000 meters. It's a sniper video. Yeah. The CIA lied, exposing how the CIA lied about torture. I feel like that still goes into tough territory for us. How xenon gas replaced oxygen. I attempted to climb Mount Everest on xenon gas. That sounds like a terrible idea. This is what this whole video was about. This whole video was just about trying to get me to green light your project. You know, if people like these video ideas, they can feel free to let us know in the comments if we can actually make them. The top uploaded comment one, I will greenlight. Happily.
Let's go.
Is this live to the public right now?
It is live. Yeah, it's live on the server. Yeah.
If anyone's on the website right now, it would be very strange for me. Look, I'm not pleased. I would like you to change it back. It doesn't seem like this should be possible on a Linux server. So the big question is, how did you do it?
The address is the server. The seed is our code to get in. And then the command is what we're doing to essentially open up, in this case, NC, which is like opening up a port on the machine that we can then access from this second terminal. Then what we're doing is, on this side, we're running a script that's connecting to that port that's just been opened up, copying our files, and then by the end, we're gonna have root access on the server. That means that it thinks that we own the thing.
That's so crazy. There's a very scary hack. I do not like.
Another thing is that this is a very obvious way of demonstrating this attack. Like, I've changed everything on the website, you immediately know that I've gone in and hacked the server. If we were doing this for real, we would do it a lot sneakier.
I mean, as you say, right, the thing to do would not be to totally rework someone's website so everyone notices, but to change it subtly so nobody notices, so you can skim data or, yeah, like get credit card details or take payments to a different location.
So you can copy anything you want, you can change anything you want, you can delete anything you want. So if there's any interesting documents or crypto tokens, any files you're interested in, they'll say yes. If there's secret communication going across these, then let's keep in mind all of our communications are multi-purpose Linux. Those communications can be sent to us. If you wanted to encrypt something and ask for ransom, that's possible now.
The possibilities really are endless. After 2.5 years of hard work, slowly infiltrating the XZ project and weaving in this ingenious backdoor, G is done. He now has free reign on any machine that installs the new Fedora pre-release. And he also gets the same access on Debian testing and Ubuntu's pre-release environments. And with RHEL 10 coming up, his code could infect some of the most important computers in the world. Now he should be able to relax, wait for the release, and he's got his backdoor key. But just when he thinks everything's going right, Andres Freund is a German programmer. He's not a security researcher, he's not a hacker. He's just an employee at Microsoft, working on an open source project called Postgres. One day in March 2024, he tries out the unstable release of Debian to make sure that Postgres will run smoothly. But while checking the server connection times, he notices something odd. Slowdown. It's not much. In the worst case, it's only half a second. But it's enough to make Andres suspicious. We tested the connection times ourselves on our own version of the XZ hack. We found the exact same thing. Consistent slowdowns of about 400 to 500 milliseconds. Andres had already seen the problems with XZ and Valgrind weeks earlier. This only makes him more suspicious, so he digs in deeper. He looks at recent additions to OpenSSH and traces the delay back to an update to XZ. He sees the binary test files and notices that they were never used in the text. It's even stranger. Andres tries to get back to work, but he can't stop thinking about it.
I remember sitting in one of the meetings and like not really being able to concentrate because it feels like I need to continue looking into it.
Eventually, Andres sees it. This isn't some bug. This is a backdoor. And this backdoor is manipulated. It hunts through memory to find the audit hook. It implements an encoder to read those raw bytes, and then it wraps everything in custom encryption and safety checks so that it only triggers on the right kind of connection. I mean, it even garbles its own string so that it won't be detected. It's incredibly cautious. But all of that takes time. And in the end, that's what grabs Andres' attention.
If they had done less obfuscation, I probably would not have noticed the drop.
Now, XZ's security contact is via TAN, so Andres can't exactly report it for the usual channels. Instead, he emails the Debian security team directly and posts a detailed report to a public security mailing list. Then, all hell breaks loose.
I'm called up on, I think it was a Friday evening, I'm sure it was a Friday evening, to join a internal Red Hat meeting. It's immediately obvious that this is not a normal meeting because, like, our head of security is there. It's explained to me that it's been found by somebody in the community that XZ has a backdoor, and immediately I'm like, WTF? How did this happen?
To cover their bases, Red Hat quickly rolls Fedora back and tells all their users to revert. And the whole open source community starts digging into the project to understand what went wrong. One thing is clear though, Andres is a hero.
Now, the fact that this was discovered in a different test at all, that was huge too. But then, what are the chances that someone who isn't looking for security bugs spends days investigating this? So, big kudos to the researcher, and yeah, saved us all from possibly a day on the internet.
I think that Andreas did a brilliant job. Because he did what I should have done, actually. Because I should have looked at the issue. I should have looked at the bug when I saw it. And I should have informed like a crazy...
Andres even gets a shout out from the CEO of Microsoft. But when the story breaks, the mainstream response is surprisingly muted.
I'm still surprised now that the mainstream news outlets haven't really covered this very much. Well, I can tell you how many systems would have been compromised, which would have been millions.
Anything from spying to ransom to just taking down entire countries, you could have done it with this backdoor.
I guess the big question is, who is GSA?
That's the question. Okay, so my feeling is that Geotan, the person I talk to, I believe is the one. But I also believe that behind him must be. And they worked for quite a while. I mean, they were at this for perhaps 2.5 years, and we know that.
If you look back at the accounts pressuring Rasa, they share some similarities. They use free email addresses, and they have almost no footprint outside of the XE threads. These were very likely sock puppet accounts, identities manufactured to apply pressure as part of a multi-stage social engineering campaign.
Now, who spends $1 million and takes 2.5 years to attempt to break into every hotel room on the internet with the master key? I think it's not a criminal organization, because I don't think a criminal organization would have that patience to spend that time without any real return. So I think it has to be a nation-state actor here.
A lot of the aliases, like Jiatan, they sound like Asian names, and the published changes are all timestamped in UTC+8, Beijing time. So the signs point to China. And that's why it's probably not China. I mean, why would they make it that obvious? Every other part of the operation has been so meticulous, so cautious. And they also worked on Chinese New Year, but not on Christmas. And over the years, there were 9 changes that fall outside of the Beijing time, into UTC+2, which is a time zone that includes Israel and parts of Western Russia. That's why some experts have speculated that this could be the work of APT-29, a Russian state-backed hacker group also known as Cozy Bear.
But again, do we know? No, of course we don't know who it is, and we likely will never know. Jiatan himself just disappeared as soon as this exploit became publicly known. Never heard from again.
In a sense, it doesn't matter whether it was Russian or Chinese or Iranian. We need to protect from these types of backdoors no matter where they're coming from.
I see this as like, you know, the canary in the coal mine of what's going to be happening as attackers get more sophisticated, they make fewer mistakes, you know, the gloves are off in a way. I don't think that the Linux community is fully, is fully ready for this yet.
In the aftermath of XZ, the open source community poured over countless small, similar projects, looking for similar campaigns, but they found almost nothing.
I'm worried that we didn't find other backdoors. The incentives are just too clear. There are state-sponsored parts of either governments, militaries, or private contractors working for states that are all preparing for the next cyber escalation, some kind of a war, some kind of a geopolitical conflict. And where are all of these backdoors? It's just too many people incentivized to put backdoors for the few backdoors that we're actually discovering.
Now, some experts have argued this reveals a fundamental flaw in the open source model, but not everyone agrees.
Closed source software would be no better here. In fact, who's to say that there aren't already state spies working as paid software engineers at some of the larger companies, putting in exactly backdoors like this. But then there would be no community member running free testing and detecting this by chance. This backdoor, if anything, underlines the ethos of open source.
I mean, just think of what it took to get this done in public. There was a multiple-year social engineering campaign. There were all these layers of misdirection. And then there was code that was designed to withstand constant scrutiny. Compare that now with a closed source hack. Sometimes all it takes to get a backdoor installed there is a court order. Or you have a public company that can just brush a breach under the rug. I actually used to work as an open source researcher myself at the Japanese telecom giant NTT. My perspective is that it's only because this is an open source project that it's been picked apart, analyzed, and turned into a conversation about security at all. One that focuses on the fundamental vulnerability. It's not the code, it's the people. Now the system has not supported them enough.
I feel for Lasse that he's given this beautiful gift to the whole world. And what have humanity done back?
Perfection is unattainable.
We've poisoned
That should
his
not
gift.
stop us from trying to achieve.
And then I think implicitly a little bit, not everyone's saying this, but implicitly we're blaming him for not being there to maintain this stuff free forever. But why are we demanding that Lasse do anything when he's not being paid for this stuff? That's, in my opinion, quite unfair. On this Saturday evening, we were working together on a workaround for this bug in L9 that he's added to XZ, and he absolutely could have told us to get lost. He's a brilliant guy.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man! The cosmos heals you.
Joining now is the author of international bestsellers, including his latest work on democracies and death cults, Douglas Murray. Welcome back to the program. Let's start with French President Emmanuel Macron, a man with an approval rating of 60%. Platforms claiming their free speech arguments are rubbish. He said born again algorithms, and that free speech is BS if nobody knows how you are guided through it.
Especially when it's to be guided from unhated speech or another way to speak. I just want to have a transparent rule.
A little help, please. It seems, Douglas, that Emmanuel Macron sees free speech as a threat to public order.
Yes, well, I have to say, for once, I agree with President Macron. He's right that we do need some kind of idea of what the algorithms are doing on certain platforms. But the idea that they're particularly disfavoring him is doubtless the reason why he's decided to raise this now. Nobody seems to mind when the algorithms are screwed, as long as they're screwed in their own direction. And unfortunately, what tends to happen is when a political leader feels some kind of heat, feels that the news is going in a direction they don't want it to go, it's becoming very easy to blame social media for disinformation much more. I'm all for transparency, and I'm all for the platform actually being able to reveal to us, when we're having things held from us, when we're having things pushed our way we haven't necessarily asked for. But I don't think people should call for it just because they're feeling some political heat on their own side, and I think that's exactly what President Macron is doing.
Now let's go to the UK, where this call on the Jeremy Vine show has gone viral. Listen to the reaction of the host when the caller mentions being stabbed twice in London.
You feel better already.
There you go, Douglas. It's a big city. Sometimes that happens. Much sympathy.
Sympathy in modern Britain if they suffer a crime like a stabbing, because it doesn't really fit the narrative. It's in the same way that people have been saying for years with terrorist attacks, you mustn't really focus on victims, you've got to just sort of push forward. As these are all just things you've got to put up with in the modern, wonderful, diverse, multicultural, pluralistic.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
So that is, and I think it's remarkable that we see in a moment like that, not just a victim of crime mentioning it, but this profound lack of sympathy in the commentating class. And when people wonder, well, why is that? It's simply because such things reveal very uncomfortable truths.
By the eye of Agamotto!
Any journalist would want to look at. The job of the media class is not simply to sort of stroke everyone's presumptions and make them all feel good. It's actually meant people look at problems like that, tease them out in the open and try to address how to solve them. But that's about the last thing that the commentating class in the UK and many other countries.
This is real firepower!
Get your take on the scandal that involved Manchester United.
Down to 30 seconds.
It's costing too much money. It'll cause. The UK's been colonised by him. That's what it is.
Jim has since apologised. Sorry. What do you make of his comments? And was an apology necessary?
I think this is a classic, again, a classic thing of modern Britain. What he said is his own opinion. Very many people agree with him. Some people might disagree with some of the wording. Much of the facts of what he said is indisputable. No, we never do get to that. We never do get to the facts in the discussion. What we've had instead for the last week has been the great modern British pastime of shooting the messenger. Everybody, including the Prime Minister of the UK, has decided to talk about this, to decide to condemn his remarks. We've had our brilliant Foreign Secretary as well as Prime Minister across the airwaves saying nobody should have used these words. Do they have nothing better to do? Is their job really to be like anyone else on X, just showing their own political stance and trying to silence somebody else's speech? It's absolutely typical. You get into this shoot the messenger mode. And if anyone doubts that, by the way, since making those comments, Jim has received, among other things, an unbelievable pasting across the British media, the commentating class, and much more, accusing him of tax dodging and much more. He has contributed, by the accounts I've seen, hundreds of millions of pounds in taxes to the UK. Sometimes more than 100 million, I think, in 1 year.
When science failed me,
that is an
magic was
enormous amount that the Exchequer has gained
30
from.
seconds before you
But
attack.
of course,
Get ready.
people don't want to go to the question that he has raised among others, which is people who don't pay their way
thought
in
that the
society.
Globetrotters
Instead,
responded
they're
to your
trying to
brother
decide
Cole.
that he is
With the help
particularly
of a
guilty of
certain
not paying
grizzled
his way in
thundergod,
society.
I managed
As I say,
to
it's not just
isolate it for
shooting
my
the
own
messenger
purposes.
in cases like this. It's shooting him and then jumping up and down on his
Depends.
body.
But when our enemies
it's
attack,
absolutely obscene.
Battle starts in
And,
5,
and I
4,
wish that at some
3,
point
2,
modern Britain was
1.
grown up enough to actually
All you
have
need to
the
do
sort
is
of
capture the
debate
mission
which
area.
he raised
Got it?
and get down to the issues that he's raised instead of this stupid prancing around the language policing, which is all we ever hear.
Well, Douglas, given that the attacks have continued, and in fact, one could argue that these have been opened by the apology, was the apology a mistake? Should he have stuck to his guns?
No, absolutely he shouldn't have apologised. I mean, I can see why he did, because the howling, screaming mobs comes down on something they say something. I mean, one of the things from last week has been that his club has, foreign players, and people are trying to pretend that his comments would effectively keep foreign players out of his football club. Well, the players in his football club are highly paid, very unusual types of migrant, aren't they? They're people who are paid, for instance, £300,000 a week. Now, I don't think anyone in Britain has a problem with very highly skilled, high-performing athletes and footballers coming to the UK. That's not what the incoming refer to. They refer to the people who come to the country, take advantage of welfare benefits, don't pay in and only take out. Is that not something worth mentioning? Is a taxpayer who pays more than their sharing taxes, a very large sharing taxes, everyone just meant to apologise endlessly? No, I wish he hadn't given in. I understand why he did. But as ever, yes, as you say, Rita, the bullies are simply emboldened, and unfortunately means that fewer people, as ever, will actually come and say what they think. Things that are incredibly unjust and unfair for the majority of the public.
Australia's footsteps and implementing social media. How do you see this policy, Douglas? There's a lot of well-meaning people who support it because they think social media does great harm to young people, but I can see it having all sorts of unintended consequences as well.
It sure does. I mean, I don't trust the British government at this stage to do almost anything well, let alone policing the internet. I think that there are several issues here. I mean, clearly, straight on behind another to show that clearly the use of social media has some very negative effects on people when they're in their teens, particularly when they're in the age of sort of 13 plus. And starting to think about their image, and there's terrible effect, particularly on young girls. Data will prove
the mystic arts won't fail.
Whether or not that should mean that there should be some kind of social media ban, or whether it means, which is what I would prefer, that schools and parents and others are better at making sure that kids aren't on their phones endlessly. I'd rather prefer the latter, as we said. But yes, the unintended consequences of all this sort of thing are always limited in their number. And as I say, I mean, who in the British government would you trust this is a government that can't even do a deal to give away islands to Mauritius without being incredibly inept about it and ending up paying through the nose for it. So no, I don't trust them to manage to get on top of social media any more than I expect them to manage to get on top of anything else.
Before you go, Douglas, I loved your piece in the New York Post this
not
week
to
on
be
the
owned,
uprisings we're seeing in certain blue cities in America. You wrote the radical leftists who are objecting to any and all ICE operations are blurring a most important line between legal and
30 seconds
illegal.
before you attack.
Can you just explain what you mean by that and about this hill the Democrats have chosen to die on, which is protecting illegal immigrants at all costs?
And it is
Well, it's quite amazing, actually, when you think about it, because it's not just ended up with protecting illegal immigrants, it's protecting illegal immigrants who've carried out crimes.
trucks.
I mean, there have been ICE officers who've been trying to detain people who have committed rapes and other crimes since being in the US illegally. And they find a whole load of sort of liberal, tends to be women, strangely, standing in their way and trying to stop them carrying out this act. This is a terrible strategic mistake, apart from anything else, by the activist left. Democrats do not want with the amazing Spider-Man crimes in the US to be allowed to remain in the US unbothered after breaking in and then committing crime. Is a quite extraordinary thing. And the thing that I mentioned in that piece in the New York Post, which I just have said for years about the migration issue in all of our countries, please do you remember that the difference between legal and illegal immigration is the law. And if you decide that the law is an unwritten concept, or somebody who's thrown away, or somebody who has come to the US completely legally and paid lawyers and done all the endless paperwork, is effectively to be regarded in the same light as somebody who has crossed the southern border in fighting rules and then committing crimes in the US. Sorry, but you haven't just lost me, you have lost the majority of the American public. And when people on the left are saying things like, how could Donald Trump have been elected with a popular vote? Guys, this is how. Because we choose absolutely terrible hills to die on. And Donald Trump is going to kill you.
And Douglas, we see that particularly from the celebrity cast just recently at the Grammys, the number of artists who talked about immigrants, no differentiation between illegal and legal immigrants, and that famous line of Billie Eilish, no human is illegal on stolen land. That seems to be the mantra of the modern left of time, Douglas.
It's crazy. I think actors and others who we see doing important things against the world. And then in Schindler's List or something, or they're the sort of heroic person hiding Jews in the attic in some Second World War movie. I think they're totally divorced from reality. You already knew that, of course. But I think they're seeing themselves in this sort of unbelievably heroic light. And sorry, this isn't the situation. It just isn't at all. And unfortunately, celebrities have decided to that somehow, a foreign criminal is somehow like a real Holocaust. Although not all of them seem to like Jews all that much anymore, but let's put that aside for a moment. And the federal agents are the kind of stormtroopers, and therefore they, the great Hollywood celebrity class, are the only things standing between barbarism and civilization.
By the eye of Agamotto!
Civilization were actually reduced to such a state, among other things, we could absolutely Swanee if we have to rely on Billie Eilish to be our only line of defense.
Douglas Murray, thank you for your time.
Best with the amazing Spider-Man!
Joining me now is the author of international bestsellers, including his latest work on democracies and death cults, Douglas Murray. Welcome back. We're going to tackle some serious geopolitical issues shortly, but what good timing that we welcome you back in 2026 in the week of the Grammys, where we were treated to endless empty platitudes and virtue signalling from the celebrity class, including this absurdly contradictory statement from Billie Eilish.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
How does she simultaneously advocate open borders and also claim Americans are living on stolen land? How does that work?
You'll have to keep fighting
I don't think it does work. I'm not sure what in Billie Eilish's head does work. I'm just going to ask the question, what exactly is stolen land? Who stole the land? And did anyone steal the land before? First Nation peoples who always lived there, or did they maybe themselves steal the land at some point from some other tribe or group? It's possible. I just throw it out there as a possibility. But of course, I think what Miss Eilish thinks is that America, and presumably because this is the sort of pseudo thought that a lot of people have in the celeb world, is that America and other Western countries are on stolen land, and that there's something unique about that, and that as a result, yes, you shouldn't have borders. No one is illegal. You can allow anyone in.
I guess we're yelling at disabled people now? I don't know.
Pick your hero. Or villain. I'm not judging.
Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. Before we continue, I just want to quickly note that the 20% off sale on my tea website, Lions Tea Exchange, is ending in a couple of days. That discount is automatically applied at checkout, so no code needed, and it applies to my winter flavors that are left over, so my bourbon barrel chai and my apple cider. I have very, very few apple cider left, just to let you all know. It also applies to lemon ginseng as well as my summer flavors, so root beer, mango black, white peach, and strawberry lemonade oolong. If you haven't tried my tea yet, I promise you it's very good. I work very hard on the flavors. I will link it in the description box. Okay, back to the video. Now, the incident that we are going to cover in this video has, for reasons that I can't quite grasp, really upset me. And while I do make a point of always trying to be, fairly balanced, despite the fact that it's pretty clear where I stand politically, I do try to be understanding of people's perspectives. This is the one issue where I'm like, the other side of the aisle here is being silly. And I just don't feel particularly understanding of them. Not this time.
4,
With that being said,
3,
I am sure
2,
that many of you,
1.
if not most of you, are aware of the fact that there is
mission
a
area.
condition
Got it?
called Tourette's, a syndrome called Tourette's, that is incurable, lifelong, and presents itself as a series of tics. These tics can be physical or vocal or both, and for a lot of outsiders who are observing somebody with Tourette's syndrome, sometimes these tics can be quite funny, but for the actual sufferer, I would say that they are embarrassing, they're painful, and sometimes they can be very, very unfortunate.
Joe and I are delighted to be presenting the first batch of the night for a vital part of movie night. We're here to celebrate.
What I think YouTube is a hypersensitive silliness was a moment at the recent 2026 BAFTAs where filmmaker John Davidson shouted the N-word while Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan were presenting the first award of the night. I don't know why I'm struggling.
I am strength.
The BAFTAs, by the way, are a British award show for film and television. Yes, the Brits have one of these too. Actually, so does Australia now that I'm thinking about it, except that I'm pretty sure that ours are called the Logies, which sounds honestly like a disease. I don't know, very unbritish. Anyway, John Davidson is the focus of a recent film called I Swear, which is a biographical story of Davidson's experience living with Tourette's syndrome, and his journey in learning to accept himself and bring awareness to the condition. But the film also seems to highlight what happens when people stop judging and start trying to understand and actually be of assistance. Given the nature of the whole thing, the film seems to have been extremely well received across the board, with Access Media writing glowing reviews for it. The lead actor of the film even won a BAFTA award for this. Davidson was, of course, invited to the event due to his film being up for multiple award nominations. And so, I can't switch camera. I think this is partially why I am so incensed by this recent controversy. Despite all the praise heaped on this movie and the faux understanding and acceptance of what Tourette's syndrome actually is, society's chronic virtue signalers all turned on Davidson the moment that specific word left his mouth during the broadcast. I don't know if you guys hear it, in the clip, but he says other things to, female dog. This includes Jamie Foxx, who wrote that the outburst was unacceptable and that Davidson meant that. S6.5. I'm sorry that I can't speak. Super articulate.
Defend the target area.
It didn't matter that he said a big no-no word because of his condition. It didn't matter that he had made an entire film trying to explain this condition, and that's why he was there in the first place. All that mattered is N-word. A comment that I saw on Critical Drinker's video actually put this really well. The demand for racism is so high that they have to exploit disabled people to get it. And yeah, I think that about sums it up. Following the no-no word, to placate the feelings of elitist millionaires and their supposed racial sensitivities, the BAFTAs released a statement saying, at the BAFTA Film Awards last night, our guests heard very offensive language that carries incomparable trauma and pain for so many. We want to acknowledge the harm this has caused, address what happened, and apologize to all. We take full responsibility for putting our guests in a very difficult position, and we apologize to all. We will learn from this and keep inclusion at the core of all we do, maintaining our belief in film and storytelling as a critical conduit for compassion and empathy. I do think it's worth noting that John Davidson screamed out a bunch of other stuff during this event as well, and it wasn't just this specific word, and he eventually removed himself, I guess, from the event hall, the event area, so that he wouldn't be disruptive anymore. So it's a little annoying that people are misrepresenting this situation as him screaming slurs at two random black men. I mean, really, if you're gonna shout slurs at anyone, it should be audible. Which is why today's video
I am here to...
Where did you come from?
This is real firepower!
Around. No, seriously, how did you get in here? How did I get in?
Tremble before fast!
She's tracking all your data. That's why. So she can sell it to other data brokers. They collect all kinds of information, from your browsing history to your address to your social security number to your email. They try and collect as much information as they can about you. And then they sell it to whoever is willing to pay, including people who want to stalk you and steal your identity. Look, I know so much. Are you serious? How is that even legal? Stop writing things down. How do I make her stop? Well, Incogni could help. Incogni helps remove your information from all these data broker sites without actually having to do the legwork. They find and delete your information from hundreds of websites that store and sell everything about you and your online habits. All you have to do is make an account, give Incogni the right to work for you, and then they go ahead and issue takedown notices. Look, for me, they've saved me thousands of hours of doing this myself, and they've removed over 1,000 entries, and they're still going. They even recently introduced the custom removals process where you can submit links to Incogni for them to delete on your behalf as well, just in case you come across something that needs to be taken down ASAP. And if you're still not convinced, Incogni really is legit. Even Deloitte confirmed their authenticity. Yeah, I think I need that because she needs to go. But I just got it out. So if you two are finally ready to be invisible on the internet and not at risk of identity theft and spam and scams and whatnot, then click the link in the description or go to incogni.com/Sydney. And don't forget to use code Sydney to get 60% off an annual plan. So I have two primary sets of feelings about this situation.
By the eye of Agamotto!
John Davidson, and I think that Tourette's sounds like an absolutely horrific condition to have. And in Davidson's case, it is one that has obviously resulted in a lot of traumatic life experiences. Tourette's is also exacerbated by anxiety, and Davidson, I expect he was very nervous being at this event, and it probably made his ticking worse, which led to, the situation that unfolded. And it genuinely makes me incredibly mad that he's being attacked on this. And the secondary feeling that I have here is amusement, because I will never not find it funny that somebody would try to present themselves as empathy and compassion for others, but as soon as the opportunity presents itself for them to be the victims of the situation, all that
This is real firepower!
I mean, they're literally celebrating a film Hollywood made about the struggle of living with Tourette's, and then Hollywood becomes intolerant of the real-life people with the real-life disability featured in said film. You can't make this up. What also gets me is that, according to the BAFTAs, they actually warned everybody about the fact that they will likely hear offensive language from Davidson before the show even started. They also warned them after, explaining that this is an involuntary condition and a disability.
Tourette's syndrome is a disability, and the tics you've heard tonight are involuntary, which means the person who has Tourette's syndrome has no control over their language. We apologize if you were offended.
But like the Spice